everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Project PS5. For those of you who are new to my channel, I'm Pixel Paul. If you're not already subscribed, if you can hit that subscription button, that would be much appreciated. For those of you who are returning, thanks for pressing play as ever. So, Project PS5, we're back with another video, which means I have finished another game. So again, if you're new to this channel, Project PS5 is essentially a series of videos from myself, charting my way through my backlog of PlayStation 5 games. If you've not seen any of the other videos, there is a playlist on my channel and you can go back and catch up a little bit and find out what Project PS5 is all about. But yeah, it means I've finished another game. Before I get onto that game and have a quick discussion about what I thought about that game, there are a couple of updates to the PS5 backlog. So I have added a couple of games, just two this time. The first one is The Chant, limited edition, PS5. I did that in a week or two ago. Picked it up from Game for £8, I think it was. Interesting looking game, like a survival horror third person game. Don't know a huge amount about it. I know it's not the longest game, so that is one that I may look to tackle fairly soon. But yeah, £8 added in, another game to the backlog. And then another game which I was actually gifted by a follower of mine on Instagram, RetroRob83, reached out and said he got a spare copy of this. Did I want it? I said, yeah, that would be great. He gifted it me for free, so really appreciate that, RetroRob. It's FIFA 21. He had a duplicate copy of this, so he said you can have that if you want. I don't think it's a game that I will necessarily add to the sort of Project PS5 because I always think with FIFA games, they are games that you can just sort of pick up and play. You don't necessarily have to sort of start and finish them. So it is a game I do want to play, I do want to try it out. I've not actually got many FIFA games at all. I am a big football fan, but I think this copy of FIFA is only the third game in that series that I've got now. I think I've got FIFA Soccer on the Super Nintendo and FIFA Soccer on the Mega Drive. But I don't actually own any other sort of physical copies of FIFA, so I am quite interested to play it. So I've not played any FIFA games for a long time, any of the modern FIFA games for a while. So yeah, I'll certainly give that a good look through. But yeah, happy to get that as well. On the sort of PS5 collection, I did actually sell Call of Duty Vanguard, so I finished that. I did a video of that before. Quite enjoyed it, but I decided not to keep that in the collection, so I did sell that on. I bought that for a £5 last year. CEX traded in for £10 on a voucher, but I did actually sell that to, again, a good sort of Instagram buddy of mine, Corbin's Combo, who bought that off me for £10. So that game did go. So on to the game which this video is mainly about, and that is, of course, A Plague Tale Requiem. So this was released in late 2022. I thought it was last year, but it was actually 2022. A Plague Tale Requiem. So a little bit of background on that game and that series. It's a sequel to A Plague Tale Innocence, which came out in 2019, released by Asobo Studios. Plague Tale Innocence was a really good game. Not perfect, not particularly in depth or anything like that, but certainly its production values and storyline gave it a really good sort of reputation, big following, and it was a bit of a sleeper hit, that one. So Requiem was the follow-up to that game, and I'll show you a little bit of gameplay footage here, sort of some of the early sort of gameplay footage, so I don't want to give too many spoilers away. And as I go through this discussion about Requiem, I will do my best to not give you any sort of spoilers that would ruin the game for you if you play it. But if I do drop any spoilers, I do apologise in advance, but I'll try my best to avoid them. So, A Plague Tale Requiem. Yeah, it's a third-person action-adventure game. You play as Amicia Droon and her little brother Hugo Droon. It's set in the sort of early 1300s in the south of France, and it follows on pretty much directly after Innocence. So if you've not played Innocence, essentially that game is sort of primarily a stealth game, quite sort of basic in terms of gameplay, in that each chapter is essentially you trying to get from A to B. And within that game, the sort of two main gameplay elements are avoiding the sort of swarm of rats, which have kind of taken over sort of France and started to spread the Black Plague. So the sort of main part of it is that you have to try and make your way through each sort of chapter, avoiding the rats and also avoiding enemy guards. Now, in the first game, Innocence, that sort of gameplay is very much centered around stealth and avoiding the rats and guards using stealth. Now, Requiem does introduce a little bit more sort of combat. So to avoid rats, you use light essentially, and fire is the main sort of source of light, if you like. You do have sort of various weapons within this game. So you have like a slingshot which you can use to throw rocks, which kind of helps you counter guards and that and the human characters. But you can also sort of use alchemy to create fire and sort of like create larger fires, which will then clear the swarm of rats. So it's fairly, like I say, fairly basic. It is a case of getting from A to B, avoiding the rats, avoiding human characters as well. So yeah, the gameplay is not massively in depth, but I think the core thing for this game is the story. It's very story driven, and that does kind of make each chapter relatively sort of linear, if you like. Like I say, it is a case of getting from A to B. There are some chapters within the game where the world sort of does open out a little bit. You know, the landscape opens up and it does feel a bit more open world, but when you actually dig deep into that sort of those chapters, you're still sort of trying to get from A to B. So it's fairly linear, and you are, I don't want to say handheld all the way through the game. That's not the case, but without realizing it, the game is quite sort of linear. But that's not it's not a bad thing really with this game, because like I say, the game is very much about the story, the characters, the relationships between those two characters, particularly Amicia and Hugo. Now, the actual sort of story, again, trying to avoid spoilers, is centered around sort of it carries on from the first game, and you are looking to try and find a cure for a condition which Hugo, the little boy, the little brother, developed within the first game. The condition seems to be linked to the rats and the plague, and essentially you're sort of like searching for people who can sort of help Hugo with this condition. Now, yeah, this is a very grim game. Innocence was, I thought, was quite sort of bleak. I don't want to say depressing, but it was very bleak, very grim. Obviously, it's about a plague, about seeing sort of hundreds of people who've been inflicted with the plague, and sort of overrun by these rats. So the first game was very grim. I've seen some reviews that sort of said that Requiem was even bleaker, even darker, a lot more grim. I would kind of disagree with that, because I do think there are chapters within this game that are a little bit sort of more, I don't want to say light-hearted, but there are certainly sort of few, it felt to me like there were fewer kind of bleak scenes, if you like. But the overall story is very sad. It's very sort of emotionally driven. Like I say, the relationship between Amicia and her brother, it develops within this game, even more than from the first game. And yeah, it's a very sad game overall. It's certainly not kind of a feel good game. That being said, like I said before, there are moments within the game though where it does make you smile, it does make you chuckle, but overall it's quite a bleak game. So as I've sort of mentioned before, it's split into chapters. I think there are 17 chapters overall. Most of those chapters take about an hour to complete, so it gives it a very kind of almost TV series episodic feel to it. I could imagine actually both of these games being sort of developed into a live action TV show. The storyline is that good and the characters are that sort of well developed that yeah, just like maybe like The Last of Us, you could see this game becoming a live action TV show at some point. And the game is, like I say, done in chapters with a very episodic feel. Most of the chapters have like a beginning and an end, and it does have a very sort of TV show feel about it. Some of the dialogue in the game is a little bit, I don't know, twee maybe, but it's it's set in the early 1300s, so you kind of would expect that. I think what they've managed to do is make sure that the language that's used is, they avoid any kind of really sort of modern phrases or anything like that. So it's very sort of, it feels, well, to me, I'm no historian, but it felt very sort of historically correct, if you like. So yeah, I think the developers for this have sort of kept that look and feel from the first game, brought it into the second game, and just maintained that sort of level of historical accuracy. So comparing it to the first game, I think everything about the second game has been sort of improved on. I think they really kind of learned a few things from that first game in terms of the gameplay, adding elements of a bit more sort of combat. The overall, the graphics have improved significantly. Some of the open scale sort of countryside landscape visuals are absolutely stunning, and you may get an idea of some of that from the footage that I've taken. The score is amazing. Again, sort of very mixed between kind of almost relaxing and sort of twee again, to very sort of epic as well. But again, it maintains a kind of very somber feel throughout the game. But yeah, like the actual gameplay itself has kind of evolved from just that A to B stealth mechanic, if you like, and there is a bit more combat, I would say, within this now. But nothing is overly complicated with it, and I think that's why I enjoyed it, because the game forces you to concentrate on the story in a way. You're not having to go through menu screens to sort of develop, upgrade your character or your weapons. Everything like that is fairly basic. Some of it is even done for you automatically, depending on how you approach the game. So yeah, I think everything from the first game has been improved on dramatically. The only thing I did notice with the game, and I did sort of notice this within the first 20 minutes or so, was the voice actors for Amicia and Hugo, and some of the other characters has changed. They changed the voice actors. At first I found that a little bit jarring, because I did notice it straight away, and it's not that long since I played Innocent, so I did notice the voice actors had changed straight away. But after like the first chapter, I'd completely forgotten about that, and they did a really good job. And when I've then gone back and looked at videos of the first game, they've actually done really well to recast the main characters, because they do sound very, very similar. But I did notice that difference, and that was my only sort of criticism early on in the game. The only other criticism I would have is that some of the 17 chapters do feel a little bit like padding. So there's just, certainly within the first maybe 4 or 5 chapters, the pace of this game is quite slow. And I think that's something to bear in mind, is the fact, and I think it's probably put some people off who have played the game and possibly given up on it after 4 or 5 chapters. The pace of the game is quite slow, and some of those early chapters do feel a little bit padded out, like they're in there just to sort of up the chapter count. But once you do get past, I'd say once you get to a certain point in the game, and there's a sort of character dynamic that kind of changes, if you like, the game really does start to pick up. And it also then, after that point, probably starts to get that little bit more grim, if you like, or bleak. But yeah, you do have to sort of get through those early sort of chapters. But once you do, it really picks up. The story develops. You meet new characters, and it really does. The game starts to get better and better as you go along. So, yeah, like I say, overall, I really enjoyed this game. I enjoyed it a lot more than I did the first game. I think I mentioned it before. Each sort of chapter takes about an hour. Apart from maybe the last 2 or 3 chapters, I certainly think it was about the 14th or 15th chapter, 15th I think, was only about 20 minutes long. That was quite short, but that's mainly because it was a sort of big plot point kind of chapter. So it was done, that chapter did, I just seemed to get through that one very quickly in comparison to the others. So it took me probably the best part of sort of 2 weeks to finish this game. Like I say, I don't have a massive amount of time to actually play games, so I have like little windows of opportunity each night. So I was ending up playing sort of a chapter each night, maybe 2 if I could. So it did sort of take me about 2 weeks to get through. So I will take you through sort of my, because I don't want this to be a review. I don't like these, I don't want this to be a review. I think you should play the game yourself and form your own opinion on it. But these are the things that I kind of think about when I finish a game. So the first one is, did I enjoy the game? And I think you can tell, yes, I really did enjoy the game. Apart from some of those earlier chapters, which did drag a little bit, overall, yeah, I really enjoyed the game. And when I got to the end of the game, yeah, I wanted more. I genuinely could play another game of this. Now, the developers have said that this is a 2-game series, or I think they've said this anyway, that it is a 2-game series and that there wouldn't be a third entry. However, it does feel like they have left the window open for the potential for a continuation of this series, probably in a very different setting. Again, I don't want to hit any spoilers here, but possibly in a different setting. But it certainly feels like the final chapter and a post-credits scene does keep that window open for potential future games, but we shall see. But yeah, did I enjoy it? Very much so. Very much so. Did I get the value for money on this game? So I bought this game from Game for $17.99 brand new, just after Christmas in January 2024. So yeah, $17.99. Yes, I got value for money on this. I thought that was a really good price to pay for it. If I paid full price for it, would I still be happy? Yes, I think I would actually. I think it's such a good game, and I just think if you can get this, a reduced price from the sort of full retail price, even better. It's genuinely a really sort of, I don't want to say masterpiece. I don't think it's quite the masterpiece, but it is a fantastic game. And I think at the moment you can get the Xbox One version still for about that $17.99 price point. The PS5 version has sort of gone back up in price, but you can probably find it for between £20 to £30. And even at those prices, yeah, I think you would get value for money playing that. Will I play it again? Potentially, yes. I think I could play this game again. I think I could play both games again, actually. I enjoyed them that much. Certainly there's some chapters within Requiem which I could pick up and play again. There's plenty of trophies within the game on the PlayStation version, which I didn't sort of pick up, and I may be tempted to go back and retry. So yeah, I think it is a game I could play again. I think if you are to play them, I think you do have to play both games, and I should have said that maybe at the start. I think it's a necessity to play the first game because it's part of the whole sort of story arc. So yeah, do play the first game if you want to play Requiem. I would thoroughly recommend you do that. But yeah, I do feel like I could play Requiem again. Like I say, it didn't take ages to play through, so and the chapters are about an hour long. So, and some of the chapters are sort of worth playing again. But yeah, I did enjoy it, and I do think I'd probably give it another go at some point. Will I be keeping it in the collection? Yes, I think I will be keeping this one. It's one of those where possibly not everybody will have this game, so I think it's one of those where if you put it in your PlayStation 5 stack, it may stand out and is a talking point because people may not be aware of it. But yeah, I enjoyed it that much that yes, I'll certainly be keeping A Plague Tale Requiem within my collection. So yeah, I think it's fair to say, and you'll probably get that impression, I thoroughly recommend Plague Tale Requiem. Very good game. Yeah, I hope if you've not played it already, I hope you maybe are convinced now to maybe give it a go. And certainly if you've not played Innocence as well, thoroughly recommend that one too. So if you've played Requiem, let me know. Do you agree with what I've said? Did you enjoy playing it? Did you not enjoy playing it? Have you managed to sort of pick it up at a decent price? Anything that you want to say about A Plague Tale Requiem, get it into the comments. Let's have a discussion about this game. And as ever, I'll try to reply to all the comments. And yeah, let's get a discussion about this game going in the comments. So that's A Plague Tale Requiem. I have now moved on in Project PlayStation 5. I am now playing through another game. I'm about a quarter of the way through that one, and yeah, quite enjoying it. But I won't tell you which game that is quite yet. I will save that for the next episode of Project PS5. So, as ever, thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, if you can drop a subscription, and if you've liked this video, you can give it a thumbs up. Again, always appreciated. I'll see you for the next Project PS5 episode, and thanks for watching. Bye guys.